The Trump administration has released its list of demands in a move that could derail a potential deal to protect so-called dreamers. Some of the immigration measures they're calling for include funding the border wall, cracking down on minors crossing the border, limiting family-based green cards, and creating a point-based system. It also includes boosting fees at border crossings to pay for security, overhauling the asylum system, hiring some 10,000 new immigration officers, and curbing federal grants to sanctuary cities. Todd Schulte is the president of FWD.US, which mobilizes the tech community to promote policies to keep the U.S. competitive globally, including taking up immigration reform. Todd, great to have you with us, and we'll get into the global competitiveness aspect of this. But first of all, can you explain how your group and the tech community fits in to the whole immigration debate?
Well, we work on all aspects of our broken immigration system. We think, number one, we need a modern immigration system with legal visas, that aren't dated back to a system from the middle of the last century. We think we should have smart, sensible border security, focus on stopping people from coming here illegally in the future. But for the people who are here now, and that includes 800,000 DACA recipients, who we're going to talk about today, those 11 million undocumented immigrants should have a path where they can earn citizenship over a period of time.
So when you look at President Trump's immigration demands, which measures would you reject and why?
Well, I actually think the most important thing is the president himself has made really clear he actually doesn't agree with some of these proposals. I'll draw your attention to, these White House staff proposals are really kind of a Sunday night wish list over a holiday weekend. They say that they should cut the legal immigration system in half. The president of the United States has made clear every single time he doesn't want to cut the legal immigration system, let alone by half. So I think that's actually really important to keep in mind here, regardless of kind of what White House staff are pushing out over a holiday weekend.
So you don't think that the president had to sign off on this immigration proposal before it was made public and sent to Congress?
Well, what I can tell you is, the last time the President of the United States was asked, and every time before then, but the last time the President of the United States was asked, do you want to cut legal immigration? He said, no, 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 no. He was asked a second time, and he said, I strongly say no, no, no. Not if they're coming legally. So I think that's a really good question to ask them. But I think the important thing is if Congress doesn't get together and pass a deal, which means 218 votes in the House, 60 in the Senate, it means it's got to be bipartisan. If that doesn't happen, 800,000 DACA recipients who came here at the average age of 6, they're going to all lose their jobs and be subject to immediate deportation. Those are devastating consequences. So we need real proposals that Congress can act on.
Why does the tech community particularly care about the dreamers and these DACA recipients?
Well, I don't think it's just the tech community. We recently were part of a letter that leaders of every single sector of the economy, from the energy sector to manufacturing.
Right.
Look, when you see Warren Buffett and the Pope both come forward and say we need to protect dreamers, I think that gives you a sense that there is an incredibly broad coalition, and polling shows that 86% of Americans, 80% of Republicans in a Fox News poll, not to mention a competitor, but 80% of Republicans, according to Fox, think we should pass a DREAM Act to protect dreamers. This is where most Americans are.
Are there any demands in this White House proposal that your group supports?
I think, I think the word demand is probably misleading. My understanding is this is kind of a wish list that has been forward here. There are certainly changes to our legal immigration system that we think were smart, and there's smart border security in there. But this is a 70-point plan that's just kind of a wish list that, I think the reason you've seen congressional leaders on the Republican side of the aisle not really bite at this over the last 12 hours here is, they're serious about finding a deal that's, really where, quite frankly, the president himself and leaders on both sides have said it's going to be increased border security. You're going to see a DREAM Act that's going to allow people to earn citizenship. So we're really focused again on how do we protect DACA recipients so they're not deported, and how do we get to 60 in the Senate and 218 to do that.
When President Trump first announced ending DACA, which, as you've mentioned, protects these so-called dreamers, a lot of companies came forward urging the president to continue to protect them. How would you argue that dreamers have helped make this United States economically stronger, especially globally, since that is the focus of your group?
Well, I think what you saw was 800 companies and business leaders made the argument that, number one, DACA recipients came to this country at the average age of 6. They're 26 now. They're working at nearly every major Fortune 500 company in America. you know, the economic data is really clear. If you pass a DREAM Act, you're going to add $250 billion to the economy. But if you deport these dreamers, if you don't pass a DREAM Act, because that's what's going to happen, that's a $500 billion hit to the economy. You know, this is just kind of economic common sense. Pulling 800,000 people out of the workforce would devastate the American economy. And again, that's why, you know, you see so many business leaders coming forward and saying, I'm going to talk to my member of Congress. I'm going to go to Washington. I'm going to demand that Congress actually do something.
The Trump administration often talks about jobs, and critics of DACA have said the program rewards people for their illegal actions of their parents, but they also make the argument that they could be taking jobs that would go to American citizens. What's your response to that?
Well, I know people say that when they're, you know, on talking heads doing TV. There's not a single economist in the United States who said that deporting 800,000 dreamers would be a good thing. There's not a single economist in the United States or a single business leader who said that if we strip 800,000 people out of the workforce, somehow that's going to be good. I will also say this. There's not a single economist in the United States who said that Americans are going to see a wage if we cut legal immigration.
Now, I want to just make this distinction because there are economists that talk about low-skill immigration and illegal immigration and how that might affect certain workers in the U.S. There are economists that say that, but you're just talking about when it comes to DACA, you can't point to an economist that would say making them leave would benefit the economy, correct?
Absolutely, but we should be clear. No one's sitting here saying we should have more illegal immigration. We need to have a legal immigration so people can come through that process. You know, I think often people who want to confuse folks say, you know, folks just want more illegal immigration. That's absolutely not right. We need a legal immigration system that works. But slashing the legal immigration system by 50 to 70%, that's going to encourage more illegal immigration. That's not the right way to go. So again, let's fix our legal immigration system. Let's have smart, sensible security provisions. But let's deal fairly with young people who came to this country at the average age of 6. That's good for the economy overall, and it's good for people born in the United States.
So just looking forward, like you said, these may not be demands, but more a wish list from the White House. Do you see negotiations going forward? Democrats have said since the proposal came out that it fails to represent any attempt at compromise. Where does your organization go from here in advocating for your positions?
Well, let me tell you actually what we did last week. We had over 120 DACA recipients in town along with business leaders to talk to members of Congress. You know, in the 6 weeks since DACA's been rescinded, you've seen the number of Republican co-sponsors of bills that provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers triple. Okay, you've seen new legislation introduced. You are seeing every single day on Capitol Hill, people are saying we got to get together and figure this out. It's not going to be 11 million right now on one side who are going to get citizenship. Okay, and it's not going to be a ton of changes to our legal immigration system. I think the question is this: can both parties come together? Can they compromise? And can they do one thing? Pass a bill that stops 800,000 people from being deported. And every indication we see is that both parties are serious and looking to get this done this year.
Todd Schulte, thank you so much.
All right, take care.